Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Nick.
I'm Shane.
This guy over here.
That's
Hello,
me.
everyone, and welcome to the Nick and Shane Show. We are Nick and Shane. Thank you for being here this evening. Hello and welcome. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and kick things off because we got a whole lot to talk about. But first things first, for all of you out there that are watching, if you'd like to join into today's show, please click on the link to join into the discussion. All right, it's there in the description right there. So just go ahead and click that link and you can jump into the discussion today because we're going to be talking about a whole lot surrounding some hot button, I guess, cases that are igniting the country right now, especially with recent developments with the Rittenhouse trial, Kyle Rittenhouse. And but first, we're going to be talking about another case that's happening right now, another trial, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, the two men that had shot and killed him. So if you guys hadn't heard about the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, let's see, I'm trying to bring up that, hold on, I gotta share. There we go. All right. So yeah, Ahmaud Arbery was this gentleman right here who was jogging through a neighborhood, and I guess it was reported that there was a robbery in the neighborhood to these guys. I'm not sure if they heard a 911 call or whatever the case. I'll tell you guys this first and foremost with this Arbery trial and with the Rittenhouse trial. I've been gathering facts off of what I read through media. Most of them have paywalls. You got to pay to play, you know, and I'm not watching the trial like that. So I'm not into every detail for of each and every case that we're going to be discussing. If you guys out there have been, then you're welcome to, again, jump into the conversation. And of course, comment or question, as you know, as it says right there at the bottom of the screen. So, you know, comment or question. And but like I was saying, these three gentlemen right here were involved. I believe this guy shot him, was the one that got out of his truck. This one was driving the truck, and this one was a passenger. So this is a case that, again, has divided the country. I think it happened, let's see, you remember when this first initially happened, Shane?
I think it was, well, I heard about it earlier this year. I think the reason that it made such big headlines is because there were no arrests made for over 2 months. And the only reason arrest was made is because the video came out.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's what happened. It first happened in like April or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until the video came out, like you said, went viral. And then, okay, TJ is here. TJ, what's up? Thank you. TJ said it happened in February. Yeah, and then the video did not hit until May. So,
like 3 months.
Right, 3 months. Right. So they sat on the video, the prosecutors in this case, of course, and the district attorney, everybody involved as far as government officials. They didn't do anything until the video came out, which basically,
okay.
How was that?
So let me ask this just for clarification. So you're saying that law enforcement had the video all along.
Yes, I believe so. Because that's what happened was when the video came out, they were actually protesting against release of that video. So I don't know what happened as far as how it got out, but there were actually issues because they ended up finding out the guy, I guess I'm not sure which one of these three, but he has a relationship, knows the district attorney, you know, and so there was conversation there about, I guess one of them used to be a deputy, used to be in law enforcement. And so because of that, he actually had a relationship with other people, the prosecuting, the district attorney's office. So they pretty much slept on that video. TJ said they tried to convince Arbery's family it was his fault, and Ruggs swept
Wow.
that video pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but TJ said on the right side is the driver of the vehicle. This
Okay. Yeah, he shot the video. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. This
All
was the
right.
guy who shot the video.
Yep. And then Arbery ended up counseling with the son, right?
Was that?
So dad is ex-law enforcement. All right, cool. And then the son is the one who shot him, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, William Roddy Brian Wright. This guy shot the video. Yeah, that's what he's saying right here, TJ.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't want to show the video. I mean, you guys can Google it, look it up. I've seen it enough times. The guy's basically jogging through a neighborhood, and this truck pulls up. One of the guy jumps out. I guess they say something. There wasn't any audio on the video that I saw. So I don't know if that video does exist or whatever the case may be, but in the video that I saw, there was no audio. So when he jumped out, the guy turned around and the guy ran up on him with the gun in hand. And of course, if somebody runs up on you with a gun, you're going to react to try to grab that gun, which he did. And he was shot several times. So yeah, it was sickening to see. And of course, like I said, if you want to see that video, you're welcome to. We're not going to show that here tonight. But he was known as a jogger right here, an avid jogger who wanted to be an electrician. So he was actually jogging in the neighborhood that he often did. And, when you're out and about, you see homes that are being built or whatever the case may be. He had an interest and he went there. I don't know if he frequented there, if he passed through there a few times. I think there were other videos that even showed that he's been there before. And, nothing happened, of course. But they chased the guy down and shot him. And when you see this video, of course, it's extremely upsetting because, like it was said, this happened in April, and adding that information on there that they basically tried to sweep it under the rug, not say anything about it, is extremely upsetting. And when it comes to relying on our justice system to, go out there and provide justice for the people that are paying for that service. You know what I mean? So one thing about when this happened was you had that whole right-left media argument, and they immediately started to try to attack him by saying he had a record. He was a thief or something like that. He was creeping around, and that the homeowners didn't want him there. And actually, it came out that the homeowners was able to see him through like a cam that they had on the property. So they were able to see people on the property and stuff like that because it was a house being built. So Yeah. Um, Again, I'm not sure as to all of the facts that came out in the case. It seems more so like it's an open shut case because this guy even came on the stand recently and said that that the guy wasn't a threat to him. That he basically caught him off guard. So it's crazy that all of this information is coming out now. And of course, during then, it could have been something that could have been done and dealt with. You know, this trial actually, or this situation actually happened right before the George Floyd killing. And that trial of Derek Chauvin has already concluded. Why is it that this one is just now kind of, you know, gaining steam and happening now?
I guess it depends on how deep the docket was. They're, well, the two different states. I mean, it depends on, right? There's only so many courtrooms, so many cases they can handle at a time.
Well, this is in a different state, of course.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Is it the corporate media docket or is it the states? You know what I mean? Because this is in a completely different state as the Chauvin trial, as it is the Rittenhouse trial, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it easily could have been, like I said, resolved sooner if they wanted to make the court process or judicial process expedited. Seemed to be some dragging of the feet, wouldn't you say?
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? The fact that nothing happened for 2 or 3 months after the incident, that there were no arrests, that there were that nothing happened. To me is the story. What happened there? Why did that happen? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know the victim. I don't know the accused. I don't know any of that stuff. And I mean, for me, like, it sounds to me like it was a lot of dumb shit that happened and a lot of unfortunate shit. And that happens around the world on the daily. You know what I'm saying? So but
I don't think anything like this happens on around America on the daily, and hopefully it doesn't. If it does, then that's truly scary that, people are being kind of hunted down, so to speak, just because they don't fit in a certain neighborhood. Or it may be deemed a threat to where people can feel like they can go and take justice into their own hands. If that's going to be something that we're promoting in this country, then we might as well get rid of the institutions that exist, law enforcement, the judicial process, etc. Just throw it all out and let everybody go out there with guns and, take the law into their own hands.
It's like I said, I don't know enough about it, but what I do find super disturbing, because I don't know the details of the case and I don't know all the facts of the Arbery case. We just don't know, right? But what we do know is that there was a gap. There was a gap between when the murder took place or when the killing took place and when anything at all was done about it. And to me, right, that, like, somebody explain that. But I don't understand why people aren't demanding answers from the police department, aren't demanding answers from the DA. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Exactly. I think if anything, after these three are tried for Ahmaud Arbery's murder, that everybody else be held accountable for them failing to do their job. I don't think that's going to happen, of course, because people are too lazy and dependent upon the, system, the powers that they're expecting the police to police themselves, which is why it hasn't gotten any better, and which is why it's defunct and broken. And you have people out there demanding that it be defunded, because it's a waste of time.
Can you see TJ's comments?
Yeah, TJ said he hasn't cut his hair or beard since then. He quit a six-figure job over this case, and he's never seen anything like it. They also voted the DA out. Oh, so they voted
All
the
right,
DA.
so good. At least there's a natural consequence that makes perfect sense. Good for
Exactly.
those people.
Especially if, again, you want to be if they want us as a society to be reliant upon the institutions to serve us, then you got to prove it, you know? And unfortunately, historically in this country, Black Americans haven't been served very well by the justice system. It seems to be fairly favorable towards white people, you know. And so with the Chauvin trial, it was actually pretty shocking that he was found guilty, believe it or not, because a lot of people thought he was going to get off for sure, just like every other cop that seems to. But in that case, everybody was kind of demanding that he, uh, you know, be tried for his crimes and that justice be served. Unilaterally, it seemed, even though there was again pushback on the right about how George Floyd had a criminal history and his, you know, use of drugs or whatever the case may be, they always try to paint up the victim as if they deserve to die by the
Well,
hands of someone who, you know, became jury, you know, judge, jury, and executioner.
that's
Uh,
what that's what progressives do, man. Character assassination.
but it's happened. It happens on, I guess, every side of it. You know
Yeah, it
what I
does.
mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
when you can't argue the topic and when you can't argue the points, you got to go after the character.
Absolutely, yeah. And that seems to what happens in cases such as this, even to where this guy, you know, is jogging. And even here, I got it finally. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah.
TJ,
Even
one
here,
of
the
these
guy
days, man, you're gonna
admitted.
have to just jump on.
Was that?
I said, I'm talking to TJ. One of these days, he's just gonna have to jump on the show.
For sure. Hit that link, TJ. Jump in here. But yeah, it says the guy, he admitted that Ahmaud Arbery made no threats to him before he raised his gun at him to shoot him. So if he didn't pose a threat and the guy admitted it on the stand, you know, um, that hopefully should lead to his conviction. But we'll see what happens. I think this one is still going to go another few weeks because we got Thanksgiving next week. There hasn't been any verdict on it. I think the defense rests their case, and now it's up to the plaintiff or the prosecutor's office. So now that we'll see that part of it happen, or actually no, yeah, I think that's it. So we'll see what happens with this case. If not next week, maybe the week after. Like I said, they may cut it short because it's Thanksgiving Day or whatever next week. TJ said closing arguments right now. So they haven't gotten around to getting those closing arguments out. Maybe they'll do it next week and let the jury deliberate over Thanksgiving Day weekend, you know, and have them come back the following week. But we'll definitely be discussing that. We're going to be taking off next week as well for Thanksgiving. Go kick it, have some time, and enjoy our families.
Yeah.
And yeah, come back definitely the following Friday, December 3rd, right? Yeah, December 3rd, where we'll be concluding the Arbery trial. And yeah, so the next one that we wanted to talk about is the one that you have behind you. I think it kind of correlates into what we were just talking about with vigilantism and taking the law into your own hands. This guy Kyle Rittenhouse, who let's start from the top on why this case right here is taking national attention. So it first started actually Let me see. I'll bring this up here. Okay. So it first started because of a protest that happened out in Kenosha because a black man was shot in front of his family by a police officer, by a Kenosha uh, police officer. And the video came out, went viral or whatever. Guy in the video was trying to leave, and the cop shot him in his car where his children were in the back seat. So the link, TJ, is there in the description. You can hit that. Yes, his name is Jacob Blake right here. So he was out there or there was a protest around the Jacob Blake shooting. Thankfully, the guy didn't die. He was in the hospital. I think he was in coma or some shit like that, or recuperating from him getting shot. So he wasn't even out at the protests. But again, there were protests against or about this shooting. And this again happened in a time where what is that? The Ahmaud Arbery shooting had happened. Let's see. Yeah. When did it first happen? The
No, it was like last spring or summer or whenever it was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Maybe around April, May, or June, or something like that. Yeah. So I think they have the timeline here on this New York Times article.
All right.
Oh shit, we got my man TJ here.
All right.
TJ, what's up?
Hey, what's up, brother? Wildstar, how you doing?
Well, welcome to the Nigga Shade Show. I'm doing great. Thank you.
DJ, good to
Trying to
finally
figure
meet
out how
you,
to
man.
turn the volume up on this thing.
For sure. Definitely do that. I can hear you just fine. We can hear you great. So,
Very good. I can barely hear you, but that'll work.
all right. Well, thank you again for jumping in the chat here.
All right.
We were going into this Rittenhouse deal, which I'm sure you were paying attention to as well, right?
Yeah, I paid attention to the Rittenhouse one and the Arbery one. I was more complaining about the fact that the Rittenhouse one was getting so much media traction and the Arbery one wasn't. But yeah, I paid attention to both of them. You kind of couldn't help but paying attention to both of them with so many people talking about the Rittenhouse one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they mainly trying to focus on that one because of it being, more incendiary, and other than the Ahmaud Arbery one, which they're trying to pretty much downplay so they can make it an open shut case. Hopefully, if the guys do end up getting a not guilty verdict or a reduced sentence or whatever the case may be, um, there'll be less of an uproar. Versus with this one, there seems to be more focus on again uh, his actions and using the case to kind of further divide our country and get us up in arms and arguing with each other once again,
Yeah, Rittenhouse is a young kid who bit off more than he could chew, who multiple times, if you really look through and follow it, showed good self-restraint, not shooting at people who weren't striking him. Pretty much the only people that caught any flack from Kyle is people who were attacking Kyle in the moment. And to me, that whole case is less of a case to be concerned over or divided over versus the Arbery one. Which God, if that was my son, I'd have wanted him to defend himself too.
I'm actually glad that you said that because you are a parent just as I am, and so is Shane,
Yeah.
And this is a 17-year-old kid that went out to go to this protest and I guess provide security to what came out during the trial, I guess, his grandparents, what did you say? His grandparents gas
apparently owned the gas station that he was going down there to protect.
Yeah, so it says here that there was an interview with him at a vehicle dealership earlier in that evening. I guess there were more things going on. He said he was an EMT and he was there to help people that were injured, and you know, straying away from just that one gas station to where there were other businesses like this vehicle dealership, I guess, where he said he was there to protect businesses. Uh, and
Yeah, there's video of him walking around with a fire extinguisher putting out trash cans.
Yeah.
From what I gather, that was the first time he got on the opposite side of, if you will, the first person who went to assault him.
right. So when you said, of course, with your son on him to defend himself, he, I guess, did he get dropped off by his mother or something like that? But his mother is there as well in the trial. She's not on trial, but she's there in attendance, of course. But when we talk about allowing a minor, because he is considered a minor, go out to an event such as this, where it could potentially be violent, it could potentially put him in a threatening, situation, position. Would you want to send your kid out armed to go and get involved in something like that?
Oh, I'll answer that, man. If this was my kid, the answer to that is yes, absolutely. And the reason is because Kyle Rittenhouse, right, wants to be a police officer. That's been like his dream. He's got his own charity set up. He's got this whole initiative that he's got set up to bring the police and civilians, closer together. That's this kid's dream, is to do that. And when that opportunity presented itself, dude, that's 20 minutes away from his mom's house and in the town where his dad lives and his grandparents have a business, and this is what he wants to do with his life. The kid is trained in first aid. He can provide first aid. And look, I think I sit back as a dad of adult kids, and I've got grandkids now, and I go, oh my God, he's 17. That would scare the crap out of me. But he was ready, and I think to this point, he kind of proved he was ready. Right? In the midst of being assaulted and chased down and all that, he didn't raise his gun to anyone until he had a gun raised on him. And then it was a matter of self-defense.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, just talking more so about the circumstances, going somewhere where, again, there could be a violent situation that could put your life in danger. So, TJ, would you send out one of your sons, or I guess in this case, allow them to go?
Well, okay, so Isaiah and Malachi, both of them had been to protests with me. I could see any one of the three of us at a protest where somebody was lighting a fire, going about putting it out. As far as sending my son armed to go there without my person, no, most definitely not. And my son, I wouldn't have. I would never send my son anywhere with a weapon expecting him to do the job of defense. He's a 18-year-old kid or a 15-year-old kid. Neither one of them would I task with this responsibility or allow them to pick up the backpack themselves if I had something to say about it.
Because I would relate that to like the military. What's that?
My inclination is the same, by the way. I don't disagree at all with what TJ is saying. Look, if it had been either of my sons, I would have told him to sit your ass down. You're not going anywhere. Right?
So I guess what I'm asking more so is it bad parenting because it's a failure on behalf of the mother to say exactly what you said? Hell no, you're not going anywhere. Sit your ass down. You staying inside tonight. As much as you would like to use this as an opportunity to showcase your skills, or whatever the case may be. Once things get violent, that's where you get out of there instead of, trying to play hero.
Yeah, I personally, and I'll let TJ go next, but I personally will not criticize the parents. Absolutely not. If any, again, in this scenario, if anyone deserves criticism, where were the police? Who called them off?
Of course. Yeah, we're going to go into that also because
so if there are no police officers and there is personal property at home, and your family owns that personal property, and you're a 17-year-old kid and you want to be a cop and there's not going to be any cops there. Look, again, as a father, I'm asking my son to sit this one out. But as a man, which he believes he is at 17, as we all know, because we were all 17 and believed we were freaking men, right?
Yeah.
We decided to take it on. And you know what, man? There's the consequences, the natural consequences happen.
All right, I got a post here I wanted to share with you guys. It's from a combat veteran. He says, just a perspective, if you arrive armed to a place where violence is happening, prepared for violence, and you engage in violence, there is no self-defense. You are, in fact, a willing combatant. If you do this without being sanctioned by a government outside of a combat zone, you are also, in fact, a terrorist. We had another word for armed civilians operating outside the military as well, insurgent. If your recourse to the terrorist is to look up the criminal history of the victim, it is no different than looking up the criminal past of everyone that died on 9/11 in order to justify the hijackers. This kid was illegal all the way around. The shit is ridiculous. So with regards to what he was saying about a position, I guess a civilian coming in and assuming the role to protect. Like you said, it was a failure on behalf of the law enforcement to stand down, which I want to talk about next. But for him to take it upon himself, or for anyone for that matter, now you're engaging into combat. If we sent out soldiers to another country and, armed people from that community came out to defend themselves, they would be looked at as a threat and they would be treated as a threat, but here we are in America. If we're sending out our own people, this is what I was saying about vigilantism. And this is the danger of allowing that to exist while also saying to a certain group of people, rely on the institutions to protect you and to go out there and defend you. There's a failure there.
I will acknowledge that there is a failure and that failure is definitely government related. And is anyone shocked?
I don't think anyone should be, but you have a lot of people that, of course, are being more damaged because of the inequality, especially when, again, they're being told not to take the law into their own hands, not to go out there. And because any one of these protesters there could have been armed. And I also want to talk to you about the, in fact, not fucking around crew, Black militia leader, who is actually facing charges right now for, I guess, quote unquote, pointing a gun at a police officer who he didn't know was a police officer because he was plain clothes, but he's facing 20 years. Nobody's talking about that at all.
And nobody pulled the trigger there.
And nobody got killed at all, but
matter of fact, the officer wouldn't even known if the scope didn't have a flashlight on it.
So when we talk about inconsistencies in our justice system, I myself, man, I was on trial for videotaping in court while my damn trial was being broadcast live on YouTube, and I was convicted and found guilty by unanimously. But yet he killed 3 people. Okay, whether you want to call it self-defense or murder or whatever the case may be, 3 people died, and those losses of life were on his hands. Yet he got to walk away clean without having to deal with any type of repercussions for his actions whatsoever, including being a minor, being in possession of a weapon, which is against the law. The technicality that the judge dismissed the charge for was based on the muzzle side, basically. I actually have that clip here that I wanted to play also.
Rittenhouse homicide trial. One of the charges has been dropped. Let's go to Gabe Gutierrez outside the courthouse in California. Gabe, what exactly was dropped?
Hi there, Jose. Well, this is extremely controversial. This is the 6th count, the gun possession by a minor charge. The judge just dismissed that count. And the reason being is that there was a discussion happening as the defense and the prosecution were waiting to go into jury instructions. The defense was arguing that the state statute here in Wisconsin makes it illegal for minors to carry a handgun or a short-barreled shotgun or rifle. The statute apparently is written to allow teenagers to go hunting with rifles and shotguns. So there was a debate on the barrel length, and the prosecution acknowledged that the barrel length of this rifle was more than 16 inches. And so the prosecution was arguing, okay, fine, we're haggling about the details of this law, but put it before the jury, let the jury decide. The judge, just a few moments ago, came out and said, no, he dismissed the charge. So Kyle Rittenhouse will now face 5 counts, no longer 6.
So that's it right there, as you heard. It was basically dismissed on that technicality, which the judge did on his own. He didn't even allow the jury to deliberate on that or make the decision on. So it seems a bit biased there. I'm going to tell you guys.
The judge has the authority to do that.
Yeah, of course he does. You know what I mean? The judge could say, case dismissed, case over.
With prejudice.
Yeah, with prejudice, exactly.
Now they can't even bring it back.
Right. But with this, I'm gonna tell you why this seems a bit classist as well, because with that statute there, it said handguns and short barrel rifles. Now, typically, people that are of low income can only afford those type of weapons. AK-47, costs a pretty penny, which is what he had, has in his hands behind you. So it also says a lot about money and influence over our judicial system. What'd you say?
I'm pretty sure that's an AR, not an AK.
Well, correct me.
It does change the price tag.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is when it comes to someone facing a gun charge for an expensive weapon, he had this one be dismissed. If it had have been a handgun, if it had have been that, short muzzle rifle or whatever the case may be, what would they have been then? Krista Wild says, hey, Krista Wildstar in the house. She says, wait a minute. Hey, I know that lady. Don't be laughing at me, guys. I know that's been up on the screen for a minute. But she says, I honestly feel that this is another setup to divide and conquer, keeping people distracted from unity and love. Absolutely. Another divisive, another way to keep us separated and fighting each other. She's laughing at us. But yeah.
I don't think she's wrong, but who is they?
The powers that be, the ones that are controlling the damn judicial system. The ones that are, like you said, scheduling this trial after the Chauvin trial, even though it happened before, right at the time the Arbery trial is happening, and the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, which we'll also talk about. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Who is orchestrating that? To where, and with the Maxwell trial, that's not even being televised. Shit. Shouldn't we be seeing what's going on instead of getting drawings? And you would think that would be all over the news, but this one isn't, or it's not.
Yeah, for me, the timing of the cases, the timing of the trials, I just I don't know, man. The way the court
It's coincidental. It doesn't seem coincidental to you.
It,
Look, even TJ.
It doesn't to me at all. But that's just one guy's perspective. I could be wrong. Maybe it is. Yeah.
So here's the thing. We know that our political powers that be, some certain princes and a lot of people would really like that Maxwell thing to like fade into a distant rearview mirror, right? We know that we wouldn't like that to be. We know that some really big organizations in this country would not like to see us devolve into a more animalistic, racially divided country.
Right.
Keeping the Arbery thing more quiet and the Maxwell thing more quiet and focusing on that Second Amendment case that's an open and shut, very clear, slammed self-defense case. Now, we can argue about all different kinds of things about how he got himself there.
Yep.
But in that moment there, he didn't do what I wouldn't have wanted my son to do. In that moment there. Now, whether or not my son would have been there, that's a whole different animal. But in that moment, now what I don't understand, and if I were the prosecutor judge in the Rittenhouse case, in interest of getting help to the kid in the situation, because I think the kid's got a pretty narrow worldview, I probably would have pursued some accidental death charges on the later victims, not the first victim, because not the first one, because the first one, from what I understand it, developed a problem with him because he was putting out fires and trying to help things. Okay, now he picked a problem with it, and that ended up in an exchange where lead got flying, and Kyle wasn't the first shot. Kyle's shot was after a shot as he was trying to get away initially. Then after that, instead of like putting the gun down and stopping and bowing to the IOs, there's a large crowd here. This isn't gonna turn on me, if you will.
You're breaking up, TJ.
Instead, he wanted to keep running, and this drew other people into it.
Can you hear me? You were breaking up there, so we were only able to.
Oh, sorry.
But I think we got the gist of what you were saying.
Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, I think we got the gist of what you were saying, and by the way, I'm inclined to agree with TJ. It just in terms of like,
hey there, Gilbert.
Yeah, his overall view of this. But is it a distraction? Is it? I don't know, man. To me, sure.
This is what I'm going to play devil's advocate, because I'm a black guy, and I guess I'm supposed to have the leftist black guy spin on it. So here we go. All right. So this is what makes it kind of like a thorn. Like I said, not to mention, first is the obvious, that the inconsistencies and inequalities when it comes to, convictions for, whatever it may be in the law system, black and white. Because of that issue, that's already a problem. Like you said, something that we need to fix, of course, across the board. Doesn't matter what state you're in, our justice system is flawed. So criminal justice or law system reform is definitely needed. Now, with regards to him being there and the protest, like I said, over the Jacob Blake shooting, that's why it seems more so upsetting. It's because he went there as somewhat of a counter protester, if you would say, because he wasn't there in support of the protesters. He was going out there to quote unquote protect property from these rioters, these BLM, thugs. He was feeding into that whole hate the left type of profiling, you know what I mean? And because of that, that is what makes him a controversial figure. If he was like a Proud Boy, which, if you look them up, they basically unilaterally made it be known that they're neutral on the issue. They're just out there to say, to stand up for people and their freedom and their liberty, not to defend property. When it comes to a Black Lives Matter protest, they're there to, protest against the shooting, protest with the protesters versus against them. You know what I mean? So that's why it's more so arguable for him to have been there as a counter protester. Then, because it doesn't matter if he's black or white. It doesn't matter if the victims were black or white, which they weren't. These were white victims. And still, there seems to be some upset with the verdict here. I guess we should feel like it's not our fight because, he didn't kill any black people. But had he been a black guy shooting black people, it still would have been wrong.
Here's what I'm picking up on, Nick, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what I hear you saying is that if Kyle Rittenhouse had been a black kid, right, that had been studying to be a cop and wanted to be a cop, and he developed this 501c3 to create this organization between the community and the police, and all of these things, right? What you're saying is that you don't necessarily believe that black Kyle Rittenhouse would have received the same justice as white Kyle Rittenhouse. Am I picking up what you're putting down?
Absolutely.
Okay. Here's my take on that. Based on history, right? I can't argue that emotion. I can't say that you're wrong. But here's what I will say is that, and I think TJ would join me in this, maybe I'm wrong, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but if it was black Kyle Rittenhouse and all the facts were the same, I believe that you would see a lot of white people, if not the majority, in my opinion, of white people who would have stood up and said, damn it, this kid was defending his family's property. He was putting out fires. He was doing the best he could. And he was doing something that the police were not allowed to do.
Even if all of the victims were still white?
Yes, even if the victims were white. In this case, at this point in time, for me,
I believe that.
Especially if they're white.
But I don't think it would have got the attention that it got. I don't think that we'd even really heard about it, if you would.
Correct. So where, like, for instance, Nick, if where these riots are going down, right? Look, these are happening predominantly in black neighborhoods for the most part, right?
Well, yeah. Kenosha is
okay.
not. I mean, it's like a suburb of Wisconsin. So
either way,
it's got black people there, and that's why it was a problem, because it's a picking on a minority class by law enforcement, which is supposed to serve and protect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it not only shot the guy, but put children in harm's way with his shooting. That officer, what happened with that? You know,
that's a great question. I was going to ask that. Does anybody know?
Do we know? You know what I'm saying?
I don't.
You would think that would be another, I guess, trial that we should be paying attention to, but it's all about this one, you know? And I would say that's more so why there's more upset from the black community about the verdict there. is because of the, unbalance there. But if the system, let's do this, okay? Hypothetically, if we had gun laws 100% across the country, or basically no gun laws, and constitutional carry, let's take a libertarian utopia, gun laws for everybody, no racial prejudice, perfect law system, you know what I'm saying? And this situation happened. What would there be any violation, any natural law violation? Because I had to explain to somebody what's the difference between natural law and, man's law. So,
Well, look, man, my take on this whole, especially given the high level of emotion in this country right now, the irrationally high level of emotion in this country. We lived in a libertarian utopia where there were no laws, right, regarding guns. You would see bigger, more mass shootings involved, where it would be battles at this point. I think when you see riots in the streets, people burning shit, people trying to destroy property. If everyone had guns and was free to use them to defend their lives and their property and whatnot, you would have seen a whole lot more people out.
So are you saying the libertarian utopia is actually more violent and more chaotic? Because
yeah, for sure. Good. I make that case all the time, right? There is no libertarian utopia.
I would say this: if the libertarian utopia did exist, none of that shit would have happened.
In the first place, yes.
Exactly.
Correct.
In the first place, that whole scenario would not exist because, again, what started it? What was the catalyst? You know what I mean? And we weren't unified as a country behind that singular issue that a black man was shot, whether he was fleeing the police or whatever the case may be. The police officer shot to kill this man, shot him in the back. He's paralyzed now, while there were kids in the car. So instead of us being united around excessive force by police officers and, what I'm saying, them serving and protecting the communities that they serve, that is where the divide begins. And then it just further kind of got, even more spread apart with this guy jumping in the middle of it. So now he's going to be lifted up, propped up as some hero, and used as, poster boy for the right against the left. That's how they're going to use this shit.
Of course it is.
You know what I mean?
It is. Are you kidding? Rittenhouse is on the verge of being a presidential candidate. He's 20 years away.
And you know what? You would have a group of people that would vote for him, especially if his opponent was like, somebody on the left, some leftist,
exactly,
or kid or whatever the case may be.
Right.
TJ, you've been quiet over there. Is all of this, pissing you off or making you happy?
A thing that concerns me about this case and him getting nothing and any punitive actions in any way, shape, or form occurring is it emboldening like white counter protesters. I'm concerned about that. I don't want them being emboldened. I think that it's a mistake to not have pursued. Like if I was in charge of the Rittenhouse case, other than the very first guy, the other ones would have been accidental deaths, and I'd have got him on accidental death too.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. If you take the reins off of vigilantism, now everybody is going to go out there armed. And if we really supposed to have our institutions in place to basically, maintain the peace, then it's failed. It failed in standing down. I mean, I got a video here. All right, I'm about to show this to you guys right quick.
Of
him running away. He had just shot some people, those victims, and here he is running away from the shooting. Okay, now let's paint the picture for all of you people out there. This is a riot and a protest in a town that had a lockdown over the coronavirus crisis, the Jacob Blake, all of this. They shut down the city. You have armed police officers in the streets, and he's running up to them armed. Now, I would say a few things about that in particular. If he was a black man, they would have said, stop and lay down, put your hands, up, lay down, all of that stuff. But he's running up, he's got his hands up. Sometimes he's even dropping them, as you can see here. You have a police car back up. You have this tank roll up and drive by him. Then you have another one come up and drive by him. He's armed. Now, again, I hate to say this. We know this. We got to be honest, people. If he was black and he ran up to some cops, he probably would have been shot just running up to the cops. Or two, at least when he approached the cops, would have gotten stopped by that first, police officer, told to get down or whatever the case may be. They just drove by his ass. That's a problem. And so that is a failure of our law enforcement. Kenosha should be ashamed of their police department. So much so to where if they do want to defund it, defunding bad police service. Why would you continue to fund a service that has failed your city? And that's the argument on the left with saying defund the police.
The city failed the city, though. It was the city, right? The mayor or whoever that had, it was somebody told the police to stand down.
Yeah.
So I don't
know who told the police to stand down, but I'm saying whether you're black and white, rich or poor, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, whatever the fuck you are in Kenosha, Wisconsin, you should be pissed off that your police officer, police department did exactly that I just pointed out. Because that's problematic, especially when you're standing down and you're allowing people with guns to interact with each other. Of course, some shit is going to happen, and you may have a situation where a guy has to defend himself, which was what Rittenhouse ended up getting cornered into. You know what I mean? Good intentions, bad outcome. And it's fucked up that it happened and that it ended up being that way. It's fucked up that any of this happened. And that's why I say, whether you're a leftist or a rightist, you should be upset that our fucking criminal justice system, our law system is failing our country to where it can't even defend someone when they need it the most, or jeopardize someone who is innocent and put them in a situation where they might be, victimized because of it. So it's a failure on both sides. You know what I mean? We should not see this as a victory. People can pat him on the back for whatever the fuck, but when it comes to his philosophy as a person, he still needs to be sat down and talked to and let him know you're on the wrong side of law. You're on the wrong side of history here. You see what I mean? He hasn't had that conversation. He's the back blue, red hat. And like I said, even if he was black and paint that same profile, this shit still would be wrong. And if he shot some white kids, his ass would be under the jail. Let's just be honest,
I don't know, but I understand what you're saying. It makes sense to me, Nick. Right? History shows that you're right. However,
that's what I'm saying.
Right, but I'm not going to say that the future is determined by history.
And the winner who writes the history books, you know? And if this guy is a winner and he's going to be writing the history books, then our children that are going to be reading it is going to get a misinterpretation of this situation. That's why you also have the argument with parents about critical race theory and, patriot, you know, the patriot curriculum or whatever they call it. I don't know, but just the fact that
The Tuttle Twins.
yeah, the Tuttle Twins. I like the Tuttle Twins though.
I know you do. I know you do.
Every kid needs to be taught the damn Tuttle Twins. But, yeah, I mean, this is a problem with our educational system, the institutions, and that's why there's also an expression of, I guess, what is it called? Systemic racism, you know, because it's being expressed through our educational system, it's being expressed through our law system. How do we fix it together? You know, black, white, whatever the hell. We have to admit that it's failed us and come up with a better solution, you know? Had it been that libertarian utopia, you would have had more armed people out there. You probably wouldn't have had to deal with that. And that a lot of people say, you know, it was a felon there, he was a pedophile, and he got shot and killed. And again, we're painting a profile of the victim, and
You know,
say that he shouldn't have a gun, you know, because he was a felon in possession of an illegal firearm. You know, are we pro Second Amendment or are we not? Which is it going to be?
well, look, that's kind of neither here nor there for me. But since we're almost out of time, right?
Yeah.
We spent the whole hour and we've talked about this and we focused on it. All right, I'm going to give my 2 cents on this at the very end. You have a 17-year-old boy, a child molester, a couple of thugs, whatever their other charges were, whatever, right? Acting like idiots and assholes, thousands of miles away from some of us, right? These are people that we will never have met, that will never have had any impact on our lives, that will never have had any meaningful thing to us in our personal lives. And yet, as a nation, we are setting aside the life that's in front of us to focus on the drama and the intrigue, right, that's being fed to us, right, by our media. And here's the thing, I'm not going to blame the media. We are choosing to put our focus on this. We are choosing to get emotional about this. We are choosing to let this be a part of our lives and impact our lives in a negative or positive way, right? And it's irrational. At the end of the day, for us to be the best people that we can be, for us to be good libertarians, for us to be who we say we are, we got to live the life that's in front of us. And what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin is not in front of us. And you can sit here and we can look at this, and you're right, Nick, we can pick this thing apart all day long, man. Black justice versus white justice, male versus female, left versus right, all of that. We already know that that's all divisive. There is no right answer. We can't win this debate. We can't win this argument. There are 330 million of us with 330 million unique perspectives on this human experience. Look, I get that this stuff is intriguing. I get that it definitely ruffles feathers. I get that it works us up emotionally. But at the end of the day, it has no meaningful impact on our day-to-day lives unless we decide to give it to them.
All right, I'm gonna roll off of that and then let TJ have the last word.
All right.
I agree with you. We have kind of allowed the corporate media to, you know, pull our strings and be the, you know, puppeteers to all of this chaos. They are very divisive, but we can't help but look in our mirror and, you know, blame ourselves for allowing this to happen. You know, if anything, this situation should prove to us that our country is falling apart. We need to come together more than ever before. We're failing our youth, our children. You know what I mean? He's a young guy. He's 17. I'm sure there were younger people out there at the protests. And, you know, when it comes to us being adults and creating a civilized society for the next generation to prosper in living securely and peacefully, we're not doing that. We're not providing them with better alternatives to protective services in our community. We're not providing them with institutions that they can rely on that will protect their rights and their freedoms and their life, with our law system. So there's many failures that we could be looking at this situation as Americans and saying we have to do better. We shouldn't go applauding or looking at this as being a victory. We need to, if anything, take it as a moment to kind of reflect and see how we can make it better to where we won't have to send out our kids, to such a thing and create that hopeful libertarian utopia. It's sad that I feel personally uh, that there should have been some punitive damages, some aggravated assault charge, or whatever the case may be, but just something other than walking away with a clean slate. Because to me, it just devalues our perspective on life even more. I mean, you have people out there that are pro Second Amendment or pro Second Amendment, pro life, but seeing this loss of life as being expendable, as being acceptable. We shouldn't be accepting of any loss of life at all, and if we want to respect life, protect life, appreciate life, we need to start first with showing that, loving each other. It's sad that it hasn't happened yet, but hopefully we can get that ball rolling. TJ?
I think Rittenhouse trying him as murder cases was wrong. I think accidental death would have been more appropriate. I think that on the second people and third people, you probably could have had an accidental death charge. I think that trying to do all three as like a first degree murder was a big mistake. I contend, though, that like this system and situation that we're in, and the fact that these trials are ongoing the same time as Maxwell, is indeed indicative of a coordinated effort. And I know a lot of people don't think that kind of thing, but I'm a conspiracy theorist and I investigate such things. And yeah, you asked me the whole factor of the Arbery case getting buried by Chauvin and Floyd when both of those guys worked together and had Masonic tattoos is all kind of questionable. So I'm a skeptic of this whole situation that we are in, and really look forward to change. I think that there is a way to fix it, Shane. I think we got to basically make our politicians afraid of us again and aim at federal land release for people greatly affected by the way that this nation was structured. And the fact that our federal government owns the majority of the 9 Western states before they lose it in the dollar crash and collapse, that we should fight to do something healing with it as a nation instead of just letting them collapse and forfeit it for us. So I think there are ways to go about fixing it, but
you can get me elected.
That'll
definitely get the ball rolling on fixing this.
Definitely take action on the part of people to do it. And I worry about the Rittenhouse case emboldening the counter protester that's against all of the idea of Black Lives Matter, because they're concerned about like the roots of the organization and their mission statements rather than the slogan. We'll throw hands over.
Yeah. I'm sure we could continue to talk about this, but
yeah, real quick.
We didn't even touch the Maxwell case.
TJ, man,
we didn't even talk about that.
TJ, I love the federal lands idea. I really like that idea.
It needs to happen, in my opinion. It's the only way out of this thing forward, where we can all sing Kumbaya.
I think it would be a huge step. So yeah, man, I love that idea.
Well, hopefully I can get elected to bring it to fruition here in California. Shit.
Amen.
Yeah.
And just because there's a lot of land in the West, don't mean that we should forget the Seminole. You know what I mean? There's some East Coast natives. Oh.
Open the door for it.
All up and down the eastern seaboard. You bet.
Yeah. The land out there is gone, but you know, I mean, that don't mean that they have to stay there.
Right.
Well, we do appreciate you for being here with us, TJ, being part of the chat and, helping us hash out this situation, because we want to unite people with our platform and talk about these hot button issues without ruffling too many feathers. We're going to lose some, but we hope to win more people along the way. You know what I mean?
Amen. And yeah, these cases, especially the Arbery ones, just been such a hot button for me since I found out about it. So like, I've never geeked out into anything quite as much, and I'm a geek and I geek out into things as I have specifically that case.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking, just the video itself, but yeah, we'll definitely be back to talk about that again soon. So please connect with me on social media, Governor Wildstar on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. If you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. The more clicks, likes, comments, all of that shit helps the Facebook algorithm. So please be sure to engage. We don't need you to just watch. You got to engage, okay? Sharing is caring. So please share this on social media. Help us get the word out there. Let people know there's a different perspective other than the mainstream narrative, the status quo commentary that they're putting out there through the corporate media. We are the media, so let's step it up here, people. We the people, make it happen. We'll be back again December 3rd, Friday, December 3rd, to talk about the Arbery case, which hopefully will be wrapped up, as well as the Maxwell case, which will be wrapping up around then as well. So we'll get more.
You think so?
We'll see what happens.
The Maxwell case is going to go well into 2027.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the background, very quietly.
There should be some more talk about it, presentation of information, and we can hash it out then. But until then, you guys, again, we thank you for being here. TJ, Shane,
later, brother.
Wildstar in the house. We love you guys.
Peace.
Love you too, bro.
Liberty, peace.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Nick. Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane.
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 Nick.
Shane.
Nick. Nick.
Shane. Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Nick.
Shane.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Shane.